Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday, guys. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday, guys. So, I have a few things I want to speak about, not any particular order, so mine can just be all over the place, but just work with me here. So, I'm going to start by speaking with those of you who are asking God to use you. Those of you who are asking God to use you. I received a message on yesterday from a young lady who is almost like she's annoyed because it's like, oh, I mean, I've asked God to use me because everybody says that purpose fulfills you, and I'm over here unfulfilled, so I'm trying to find my purpose. So God use me, God use me, God use me. So just after chatting with her for a little bit, I don't think she realized, and I don't think a lot of people realize on what asking God to use you really looks like, right? Right? It looks all glitz and glamour, I guess, for some people, but on the back end, you don't see the attacks, right? On the back end, you don't see the times you have to sacrifice. On the back end, you don't see the times you have to really be disciplined to be sure you're hearing. Listen, so wonderful. Ask God to use you, please, by all means, right? He needs more people to be a vessel. But in all transparency, which I think a lot of people don't speak about, is again the things that you do have to go through. And I think, and even if you speak about it, I think a lot of people are just clueless because they typically want to just look at the glitz and glamour, what they deem to be glitz and glamour of other people's lives and how God blesses people, but they're not really paying attention, right? Instead, they're jealous and have the seed of envy for people. And only if you knew what some of these people have to go through, you wouldn't be so jealous, right? So however God uses you, again, remember, there's just different ways. Everything is not church, right? Because I'm definitely not used in church. So it just really depends on how God wants to use you. This is not based on what other people think you should do and how other people don't understand. This is, you know without a doubt, this is a pact between you and God, and this is how God used you. And whatever that way, God gets the glory. Period. Point blank, period. He gets the glory. So I would encourage you to press in more, to really ask God to reveal to you how he wants to use you. Also, I want to encourage you to make sure that whatever he's asking you to do, if he's asking you to walk away from certain things, from certain people, you got to be obedient to that, because that's another part of it. When you're asking to be used, a lot of things are going to fall off, right? So if you're being stubborn in that area, right, it's almost like you're making an idol out of those things, and then God can't use you like that, because if you're going to hold on to the things that he's asking you and convicting you to remove, and you're not even obedient in that way, how is he going to use you in a bigger way, and you can't even be obedient enough to remove the small things that was not that the small things, it may be small to other people, but I'm sure it's not small to you. But you got to sacrifice. That's what it's all about, sacrifice. So it's not easy at all, right? It's just more so less, again, about being very, very clear about how God uses you. Even when you get backlash, when people don't understand, you got to stay planted in your lane. And then the things that he requires of you, you must do. And granted, you don't just start off with boom, right? This large way of God uses you. He starts you small. Like, well, for everybody I know, right? He starts you small. He tests you and he watches you, right? He starts you small, and then you start to increase, right? Glory from glory, level to level, right? You start to increase. So then it's almost like people will start to recognize all of a sudden, like, wow, this person has all this lights, camera, and action, but they don't realize that this person had to be transformed. This person had to be elevated from level to level, etc., 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 etc. So asking God to use you is that's something, since I can't tell you how he will use you. Again, that's a personal, this is why it's important to have a personal relationship with God. But I'm very, very clear on the way God uses me. And again, obviously it's far from church. Excuse me. Well, it's not even that it's far from church, because I mean, the point I'm trying to make, I guess, when I say everybody's not called to church, is like everybody's not a pastor's wife, or everyone is not a pastor, or everyone is not a deacon or a deaconess, etc., etc. That's what I mean by that. But I guess if you're looking at it as church overall, right, just kingdom overall, then I guess you are called to church. Just without the black stalkers and kitten heels. Okay, Lord forgive me. All right. So just yesterday, I'll give you an example on what it takes to be obedient, what it takes on to kill your flesh and whatever you got going on that will require you to be a willing vessel. Because many times you're going to have to shut your own stuff down. Like, and this is the whole process. This is not something that just happened overnight, right? God starts to shape and mold you, etc., over time. But I told you guys, God uses me, listen, in a day, I can tell you, well, each day is different, but I'm definitely used at least twice per day. And it's becoming more frequently now, right? Because again, the more you elevate, the more he uses you. So here's a perfect example on yesterday. So I was on the nature trail. And so when I was walking, I saw this blue van. It's a big, one of those like the custom old-timey vans. And so when I was walking, it was a ping, 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 ping. So you will get some type of an alert that something is an assignment for you, right? But you don't always act too quickly on it. I guess it just all depends, but you don't act too quickly on it, because now you have to decipher, especially being an empath, you have to decipher, is this emotional or is this spiritual, right? So I didn't think no more about it. I just kept walking. The van, out of all the vehicles, the van just stuck out to me. And so when I came back around the second time, there was a couple, a beautiful black family, husband, wife, and the daughter looked to maybe be like 13, something like that. And they were all praying. They didn't see me, right? Because they had kind of like had their backs turned. They were all just kind of huddled up and praying in this van. And so, okay, instantly, Lord, you give me a second sign. I got somewhere I got to be after I'm finished walking. I got to go shower and got to be somewhere. That's what I'm telling myself, right? That's me. That's flesh. I got somewhere to be, right? Spiritual said you're going to sacrifice. Your plans can wait. So I said, okay, at this point here, I feel that there's something. If there's an assignment for me, when I go back to that, when I'm about to leave, you will make it clear to me. Before I leave this park, you will make it very, very clear to me. Because right now, I think I'm on something, but I got to be sure I hear from you, because I got to be sure, you know. So after maybe an hour later, after walking, when I got in my vehicle to leave, I wasn't even thinking about them again. Seriously, I was now thinking, looking at the ducks and just, checking the emails type thing. And boom. Remember, you passed that blue van. Go drive back there. If you drive back there, if they're still there, right? If you drive back there and there's something that hits your spirit, then there's an assignment there for you. I gotta go. I gotta go shower. I'm supposed to be meeting somebody for lunch, right? That's me. That's what I want to do. So now I got in my truck. I drove back all the way around. And not only do I see the blue van, I now see the husband standing outside of the van under the hood. This is also why it requires you to be fearless at times, because God will have you doing some random stuff and you're just like, God, these people are going to think I am cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Why am I going to just, what do I say when I get up there? So I drove up and the husband was under the van, as well as a teenage daughter. And I was like, do you guys need to jump? I have some cables, you can borrow my cables. And then he looked and he had this smile. You can always tell people when people know God, because it's just something in their spirit. But he had this big, beautiful smile. The daughter had this big, beautiful smile. And he's like, oh, no, we're okay. We're okay. I'm just showing my daughter something under the hood. I think he's like maybe teaching her about the. So I said, okay. So I pulled off. I couldn't even get out of the parking lot. I couldn't get out of the parking lot. God is like, you gonna linger at this park until you do what I asked you to do. And I'm like, God, I'm willing to do it, but could you tell me? Because I got somewhere I gotta be. So I had to literally go on the other side of the park and sit in silence. Okay. All right, Lord. I'm not worried about my lunch. I'm not worried about none of this stuff. I'm just gonna sit in silence. And when I sat in silence, I got a download. So I drove back around here. And now I'm thinking like, okay, now this man gonna really think I'm a stalker or something. So now when I drove back and I walked up. I didn't walk up, I drove up. He actually came kind of like close to my vehicle. And I said, I walked by earlier. I said, you guys didn't see me because your back were turned. And I saw you guys praying, and I just think it's the most beautiful thing because nowadays, etc. So I just gave some words like that, and then all of a sudden, a curtain opened, and then there was the wife. She hears somebody talking to her husband, honey, right? So she popped her head out, and I gave her a few words too, and we just started speaking about the Lord. Come to find out they were living in the van. I think it may be a choice because they're this level in their life where they're realizing that a lot of things is bondage, but it's a big van and they were living in their van and blah, blah, blah. So I said, I would like to, it was okay. I would like to bless you guys with a seed. Now, granted, my spirit already told me that this seed was truly needed, right? When I blessed her with the seed, she then said, can we pray? Can we pray? Right? And she started praying over the seed. We're in the middle of the park, literally in a circle, right? Me, her husband, her, and the daughter, and we're holding hands in the park and we're praying. The Holy Spirit allowed that young lady, to give me exactly confirmation, an exact confirmation that I needed about something she had no idea about. And in turn, right, she was able to receive that blessing. 15 minutes later, I got to a store. I had a buggy full of things. Annoyed because the line is long, but you already know God worked with my patience, so whatever, I'm just going to sit in this line and wait. A lady walked up to me, beautiful white lady, walked up to me, tapped me on my shoulder and said, did you get the coupon for today? I happen to have two. And I'm like, I'm not a coupon person, but if you got a coupon, I will sure take it. Hand me a coupon and say, God bless you. 50% off your entire purchase. I can't tell you how much stuff I had in my buggy. Let me just be honest with you. 50% off your entire purchase. Then I went to pick up some lunch because I couldn't go to lunch again. Pick up some lunch. They messed the order up. Not only got discounted and got the thing for free, basically, got even more, like they just load the stuff up just for the inconvenience of it all. Okay. So you see, the point of the matter is I didn't lose anything because the money that I blessed the couple with, in turn, I was blessed right back with it. In fact, even more with the 50% off on the things that I had within the store. And then the food that I would have to pay for basically came for free and got double portion of that for free. So I already got my money back and more. But I'm not looking for it. That's just how God operates. So you're not losing anything. You're going to get it on the back end. You're going to get more. So when God can see that he can trust you like that, then he's going to increase you. He's going to give you more and more because he needs you to reach more people. But the point is, yes, you're being used, but understand, you will be attacked. Understand, you have to sacrifice. Understand, you're going to have to be obedient. So it's not all roses that people think when they say, God, use me. I wanted to share that. Next, I want to speak to you guys about those of you, it really should have been a lot of people, right? I'm definitely going to say all. I'm assuming it should be all, but most people aren't tapped in like that. When the pandemic happened, right? What was it, 2019? Something like that. I don't even know. But there was an awakening for a lot of people. There was a shift for a lot of people. Sorry, my computer keeps going out. There was a shift for a lot of people. And some people can't really articulate what that shift was. But a lot of people realized that they were being oppressed in their workplace. And this is why a lot of people have not returned back to work, or they started their own business, or just started to work from home. Make a long story short, they started to do things to make life more easy and more meaningful to them. Where before, we were like tied up in this bondage of just like this rat race of working and being like, we weren't even present, and we didn't even realize it until we had a moment to be present. So yes, we had our little hissy fits, I guess. Some people, I actually enjoyed the like the solitude of when everything first started, right? Not speaking about anything else, right? Because there was a lot of tragedy, et cetera. But I really enjoyed that peaceful time of when quarantine started. But after people really got over this, some people it was a trigger, right? Because people don't like to be alone. For some people, it was very detrimental on their relationships or marriages, because you're realizing, like, I really didn't know you. I don't even like you, right? But there was awakening from so many different angles. And if at some point you got to the place where you just sat still and say, okay, God, I'm going to stop fighting against this. Why am I fighting against peace anyway? But I'm going to stop fighting against it, and I'm going to just chill. It doesn't feel natural because I'm used to going. I'm used to working. I'm used to pouring into people. I'm used to being used in purpose, but I'm going to just chill. First of all, you ain't got a choice. You're going to chill regardless, right? But there was a shift. And if you were tapped in, or even if you even press into it now, because it's still there, it's just that a lot of people aren't, I don't know. But that shift awakened a lot of people to the way some people were using and abusing you, let it be on your job, in relationships, or whatever. That was an opportunity. That is an opportunity for you to understand that God is moving a lot of people from jobs, from careers, and shifting into purpose. But again, a lot of people are afraid to take that step, because like it's almost like, well, with my career, I went to school for this, I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's all like, no, but you're not even happy. And then that's another thing. Not only were you awakened, right, to the oppression, you start to lose desire for a lot of things, for people, for things, for places, including the job. So it's almost like a conviction to say there's a shift, there's an awakening, but I'm shifting you also to purpose in a new direction. But you got some people who are still literally hanging on, grasping on to the same thing that God was trying to remove years ago. The people who are willing to tap into purpose, the people who are willing to take a step to say, okay, God, I think you're calling me to this, right? So what I'll do is I'll just take a step. I'll start on the weekends. I'll start trying it on the weekends, right? Let me just start trying, right? To those who are willing to take the step, then you're realizing that it really is a transition from what you were doing it to something else. Or it could be the same thing you're doing, but just in a different way that's now going to be used for purpose, and it's now going to fulfill you, and now it's going to also bring you more income, because a lot of things are just not going to continue to be prosperous, especially with a lot of like the public figures and celebrities. It's just not. They're being shifted into purpose. So either you're going to trust God and start attempting to shift, or you're going to just stay where you're comfortable, and it's a safety net for you, and then the rug is going to pull, and then you have nothing else in place, because purpose is the safest place to be. Lastly, those of you who are still with this mindset of, and again, I'm not speaking anything I know you guys get so annoyed with me. I be trying to hide one phone. I just hide the other phone in my drawer. This one is starting. Honey, let me just tell you, okay. But I'm not saying that there's anything wrong, again, with desiring and seeking partnerships and marriages. I think it's beautiful. Seriously. I think partnership is amazing. But some of you can't even see past that. You're so locked in on the idea of needing a husband, right? Or needing a wife, right? It goes both ways. That you're so far off from purpose. I mean, there's not even a balance. There's not even a balance of, I want a partner and I also want purpose. It seems like everything, every energy, everything, every focus is solely on your partner or the spouse. Even if God promised it to you. You got to tap into purpose first. I'm just going to tell you. You got to tap into purpose first. You got to tap into purpose first. You won't even really know who belongs in your life until you tap into purpose, truth be told, right? Because other than that, you're selecting from flesh. You're selecting from what you think you want. You're selecting from what tickles your fancy. I don't even know where that came from, right? You're selecting from that. And then 6 months into marriage, I'm not happy. He doesn't fulfill me. He doesn't. I'm going, guys. He doesn't make me happy. It's not his job to make you happy, right? It's cool that he can add additional happiness to your already happy self. That you're driving him crazy because you're seeking for him to fulfill you, and that's a job that only God can do. That's a job that only purpose can do. So it's wonderful that you're seeking a mate. It's wonderful that God made you the promise. But did God ever tell you when? Did he told you he had a kingdom spouse for you, but did he tell you tomorrow? So he may have went silent on you because you're idolizing the promise when you really should be asking God, how can you use me right now? How do you want to use me for purpose right now? Can you please help me to find purpose? Can you give me insight? What is the next step when it comes down to purpose? So then what you're doing is you're letting God know that he's first, right? Guys, I'm speaking kind of low because I got somebody doing some work in my house. But you got to ask God, how do you want to use me? How can I be a service to your kingdom? Then you're letting God know that that's first, right? And it doesn't say that you come into a big purpose, lights, camera, and action tomorrow, but you start walking in that because you're going to meet your people within your purpose. So let's just say God tells you, okay, well, I want you to start with going down and feeding the homeless people because you were homeless at one time and I brought you guys out of that. I used a person to come and bless your parents with a $500 seed that kept you guys from not being homeless for a whole 6 months. So I want you to go back and pour into other people since I bless you. Now let these people see me through you. So go start feeding the homeless people, right? And you're starting to do that. The point is God is using you. God is getting the glory. And here you look over to the right and here's this little fine something. He's coming to drop off. He owned a company that just, sells vegetables. And he's coming to drop off these boxes of vegetables, right? Just to bless the homeless shelter. And you look over, honey. He wink at you, honey. That's just one example, honey, out of a million, right? But you meet your person within your purpose while you're in your purpose, right? He's in his purpose, you and yours, and boom, collision. Guys, I got to go because I know you guys are so annoyed with this phone here. I got some stuff I have to do. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.